Hi, everyone. This is Scarlett Johnson, and I'm here with my friends, Jamie Hinkle and Rosalind Hanson. And this is Moms on the Right. And today we're going to talk about just current issues in culture, politics, hot topics, and talk about them through the lens of moms turned activists for parental rights and all sorts of things. So we'll just get right to it. Rosalind, you have a whole bunch of topics that you sent me to talk about. Let's just jump right in and do it.
Soccer.
Oh, I should mention, like Rosalind, you can see the background. She's at the White House. So she is there attending at 1 o'clock Eastern time. There's going to be a press conference. So I am airing this tonight. So this press conference will have already happened. But Rosalind is there, a member of the new media, which is amazing. These are amazing opportunities offered by the Trump administration to get different voices into the press rooms and the voice of just kind of regular people, which I appreciate very much. So you can see the background of the White House there. I'm very jealous.
You'll be here Friday.
Yeah, I'll be there Friday.
But I think
the topics you want
the topic I think that we didn't prepare for necessarily, but need to address is the government shutdown, and that I'm sure will be a very important topic today at 1 o'clock. And living in the DMV, it does impact government workers who are furloughed. Let's make no mistake that they get all of that back pay. But it's definitely, I think this is the 10th time in 25 years we've had a government shutdown. Some have lasted hours, some have lasted weeks. So do either of you have any take or input or perspective on a government shutdown and what it means for your everyday life?
I actually do, because I lived through a government shutdown as a Navy wife. I lived through one of the longest shutdowns that America had, and experienced what it was like to not get paid when I had two little kids, and we were living at that time, like we were living check to check. The military pay isn't always very high. And at that time, it was a residency, so there wasn't a whole lot, we were really struggling already. And it was really hard to not get paid. And we had to borrow money from our parents. And it's very difficult. And my daughter called me today, and she is the wife of a currently serving Air Force member of the Air Force who is stationed overseas. And they had to have a conversation last night about how much they have in savings, like if they don't get paid, and his deployment, he's on deployment. His orders to come home, which were set, are now up in the air. So they've said he may not be coming home as early as expected because they could not afford the tickets to fly him home. So the Democrats, the Senate, what they're doing, the games that they're playing have very real effects on real people.
I'm sorry that's happening to you, Scarlett, and I think that that's a real world impact that that you just shared. Jamie, do you have any experience with government shutdowns and it impacting your family?
No, I mean, not in a negative way. So I don't want to, take away. My dad, when he was alive and worked for the government, was a part of a few shutdowns, and he was able to come and visit us and see his grandkids. And so we are appreciative of that time. But I know that that's a very rare celebration.
I know sometimes people say the government shut down and we're not going to notice, like it's not going to affect their lives at all. That's why there was specific provisions that would fund the military, that would fund TSA, some of those crucial services while, all this debate is going on. And that was not passed. The Democrats would not pass it. So they are specifically holding up funding the TSA, which means I'm going to be traveling soon. That's going to be interesting. And paying our military and other critical services. I have a little blurb up, and nursing home care for veterans, grant-funded suicide prevention programs, transportation services to medical services for veterans and their families, financial assistance for low-income veteran families, veteran mental health services. That's a big one when considering some of the recent events, and outreach programs for veterans experiencing homelessness. And I have to say, like, basic pay, like, so lots of times there might be basic pay, but different forms of pay will be for service members. So this is really going to affect veterans, and considering that all that is being asked is to sign a clean CR continuing resolution, the same CR bill that Schumer had signed onto just months before. Now he won't do it. Why? Because AOC is at his heels. There's about to be a socialist elected mayor in New York, and the Democrats are in fear of their very far left base who are in charge. And because of that, there's going to be real risk of harm to, to our military families and to our veterans.
You're exactly right. And this is a developing story, obviously, so we'll know when this airs later tonight what has changed in the last 12 hours. But I want to also, to the things I shared with you about current affairs and hot topics, the government has in itself canceled itself, but on the for-profit side, we have canceling in full effect when it comes to Netflix. So that is a massive story that's developing as well. So I wanted to take a minute and see what your thoughts are, or even explain what I think from my perspective on this canceling and this petition of ending your Netflix subscription.
Why don't
either
you
of you want to dive in there?
About it? I actually don't know very much about this, so I'm interested to hear.
So, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Elon created a viral moment, I believe yesterday. There is a show on Netflix that started in 2022. It's called Dead End Paranormal Park. And it is a graphic action cartoon. And the issue here is that it is, its age appropriateness rating is for 7-year-olds. And so you can access it on your adult Netflix account. And fun fact, it is presented on the adult Netflix account with a picture of a little girl. It appears that I think she's Indian based on the little bit of the show I watched. But then when you go to the kids account, right, it's a puppy that is on the picture. So we're already like trying to make this like more cute, more cuddly, more reaching for the 7-year-olds. And so in the show, these are teenage kids who go to an amusement park that is now demonic and is captured by spirits and ghosts. And one of the kids flat out is, I'm transgendered. Everybody, except for my grandmother, supports my transgenderism, and I feel at home in this paranormal park where I'm accepted and loved. So there is national backlash on Netflix calling for the canceling of subscriptions. Actually, the one thing I'll add, and then I'll jump in and stop talking, is the producer or the creator of the show, Hamish Steele. He's on Blue Sky, and as of this morning, he said, I will just say today is much, much worse, and I'm going to basically be on the down low for the foreseeable. My apologies. He also has posted in the past negative comments about Charlie Kirk. So all that to say, there is a national revolt against Netflix. And Jamie, what do you think?
I mean, I think you guys know by now, I don't love cancel culture. I really don't. I would much rather fight against Netflix to have, some of these shows removed. I mean, I understand stopping and not spending your money and organizations and companies that you don't believe in 100%. But I mean, we've seen just as many people talk about how, Starbucks won't write Charlie Kirk on their cups. So it's like, why are you still going to Starbucks? So I think it's something like that. I mean, I have a Netflix subscription. I don't intend to cancel it, despite, Elon Musk's plea on X. But you're right. I mean, they're after our kids 100%, but like, you have to be the loudest voice in your kids' lives, and talk to them about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. What I think I sent you another show, like Coco Melon has 2 dads raising a boy who's wearing dresses, and And, you know, this stuff is everywhere. So it's not just going to be one show on Netflix. It's in the books they read. It's in the shows they watch. It's.
Well, and that's exactly, and then Scarlett, I to your point, Jamie, I don't know that canceling it is right. It's rather who's creating this content, who's approving it and saying it's appropriate for age 7 and above, right? Like it's no different than when Moms for Liberty started identifying all the problematic materials in public education in the books that we were reading, right? This is no different than that. And if I'm a shareholder in Netflix, I'm demanding accountability from the executives, right? Who on your staff is clearly not vetting the material that you're putting out there on the kids' sites for Netflix? Like that's kind of where my brain goes, is how do we have the accountability and like the actual vetting of, is this appropriate for a 7-year-old? What do you think, Scarlett?
I was just going to add about I mean, it's the same thing as like giving them the Target treatment, right? So it's like, yes, some people are going to say, I'm never going to shop there again. But other people are going to say, well, I'm going to post about this. I'm going to send emails. I'm going to make it a point to say we shouldn't have binders be the first thing that we see when we walk in with our kids. So, I mean, I think there's 100 different ways to approach this. I don't think any of them are wrong. I mean, I think it's getting a national spotlight on it is important. Oh, you're muted, Scarlett.
I always do that. I mute myself to improve the sound quality, and then I forget. So what I would say to this, that the big issue I have is that they have tagged it for 7 years old, and that's very specific because I have a basically parental lock on my Netflix account. So my kids can only go so far, my youngest, so she can only see the Netflix Kids, and to go into anything that's, rated R and above, like she has to have a certain password. And that works when they're younger. It doesn't work as well as they get older. But so by giving this show a rating of 7 years old, that means that little kids will have access to it. Now, parents who kind of let their kids have unfettered access to all of the streaming and apps, that's not wise. I know it's difficult, but don't have a TV in your kids' room. Limit TVs to certain areas so that you can watch what they're doing. However, Netflix, you can download on your computer, you can download it on your phone. I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much monitoring you can do as your kids get older. It's much easier to protect them when they're younger.
And I think that's the hard part. Like people have I've lost trust in Netflix. Like I have to monitor everything. My goodness, like no 7-year-old needs to know any story about what high school kids do. I mean, when I was in high school, I was not making the best sound judgment decisions, and I don't need a 7-year-old watching fictional characters on Netflix also make silly and inappropriate and not respectful decisions. I just think it's a bad precedent to.
But I think that's the point. Also, it's not just the gender identity and the queer theory being pushed. I mean, it's just sexualization in general.
The violence, yes, and like we're gonna be best friends with these demons, right? Like this is adult content, right? For a fully formed mind, not a 7-year-old where it's like, oh, it's fun to be friends with a demon.
Right.
No.
But to that point, I mean, I hope anyone looking at canceling their Netflix is doing the same for Disney, because the same content is pushed right in their faces. So, it's not just one streaming service; it's everywhere. It's just this is the world that we're living in, and we as parents have to pay attention.
I wonder if, and I didn't try this, but like if we put in if there's a way to leverage AI to screen this content for parents, so that way before you watch the show, you can get the cliff notes. Like, what is the overall, not the 2 sentences that Netflix tells you, but like if you put it in Grok, would you be able to see the red flags that you think that exist, so that you can say no thanks?
Yeah, but then there's there's the common sense media, right? And it's
right.
all biased. I mean, I would say I'm not saying that Grok or ChatGPT, I mean, there's obviously some bias there. They might be able to give you a little bit more specifics on the red flags, but yeah, you're going to have to do work. I mean, welcome to America in 2025. You're gonna
Welcome to parenting. You're gonna have to work.
Oh,
work.
I'm not, you know what? I would just like to say that I don't know if you guys have this problem, but I finally got Rocket Money because I found out I had 3 subscriptions to Netflix. Do you know what I mean?
Did it work? The Rocket Money, you did it?
Yes, it works because I'm like,
okay.
I could swear I'm seeing these Netflix charges. I should only have 1. There were 3. So I am canceling 2 of them.
You tell them, Scarlett.
I am showing them I'm no longer going to pay for 3 subscriptions. I'm only paying for 1. But man, it's irritating. We could talk about that all the time.
We just went through that. TJ just went through one of our like subscription bills too. So
yeah.
Well, what I want to do, and I keep being pushed back on, is I just want to cancel all of them because then you get like 30 days. And then when you can't log in, you'll know like whether or not you have multiples. Like just cancel everything. And then when it no longer exists, then you decide whether,
go back to DVDs.
I can go to my mom's house for that.
I just wish they would make more content for families, traditional families. They're going to do this stuff. Can you just please make some shows that
case in point, look at the new Super Bowl. We have Bad Bunny doing the Super Bowl coming up. That's not family friendly. Like, hard pass.
Why?
The NFL loves to lose. That's all I'll say there.
What do you say? What'd you say?
The NFL loves to lose. So
is Bad Bunny popular?
If men in dresses are popular, then yes.
Who openly bash our president, and most of their songs are in Spanish, right? So, I mean, did you do any targeted audience research before making this decision, NFL?
Yeah, I think Bad Bunny's Puerto Rican, so I don't claim him. I have no idea who he is.
Yeah,
but then I had
Bad Bunny. Ugh.
I had this thought then last night. I'm like, well, maybe TPUSA just needs to rent out another stadium, and then every commercial that airs, that's when we just go watch whatever they're streaming, right? They have their own halftime. Like, let's just go and have another Christian revival in another stadium during the halftime of the NFL run by TPUSA.
Yeah. Or get music that people like.
I think that's the bottom line.
You can dance to.
That'd be the easier option.
Yes.
Music that people like.
Done. Play music people like. I know they just want to be so different. We're going to play music that most people that are watching the NFL don't like. That's a great idea. Let's do that.
Great. Well, speaking about things that might happen and most of the people don't like them, that would be Abigail Spanberger becoming governor in Virginia. And so Jamie just hopped away real quick, but Jamie is our Virginian. And I think now more than ever is a great time to have a conversation about this race because Moms for Liberty is hosting a parental rights town hall this Friday night in Fairfax, Virginia. Winsome Sears, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears will be one of the panelists there. And so I just saw recently, and Jamie, you are the boots on the ground there, but it looks like from one poll, Winsome is closing the gap. Is that true?
I mean, yeah, if you believe polls, then Winsome is absolutely closing the gap. I mean, if you read headlines, I think you could probably also back that statement up. Abigail Spanberger is running against her and is yet to answer the question on whether she thinks men can be women or keeping pedophiles out of girls' locker rooms. So I think common sense is, circling back around in Virginia races.
So yeah, I'm reading the X post by Eric Doherty. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but in a massive development, Republican Virginia governor candidate Winsome Sears narrows the race with only weeks to go. Right now, Spanberger 48%, Sears 45%, unsure 6%, +3. I don't know that much about this polling firm, but yeah, she's within the margin of error right now. So that's.
I think we might see like another Terry McAuliffe, Governor Glenn Youngkin situation where, weeks before the election, Terry McAuliffe came out and said, like, I don't think that parents should be directing, what teachers do in schools. And Glenn Youngkin came forward and was like, well, parents matter. And I think we're seeing it again in Virginia right now. There's endless headlines that I'm constantly sending to Scarlett or our CEO, co-founder Tina Deskovich about a Fauquier, or I'm sorry, I live in Fauquier County, Virginia, but in Fairfax, just like endless material to promote why every single Virginian in the Northern Virginia area should be at this town hall. And so hopefully, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears and John Reed will be able to speak about, some of those headlines on Friday.
I'm looking through the headlines right now of Fairfax County. It's insane. It's just
almost like the epicenter, which is just so fascinating, like between Loudoun, Fairfax, Alexandria, Arlington. It's just this consistent barrage of thumbing up to saying no to girls having safe spaces, right? There are two biological sexes, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, like we go back to the number one school in the entire country, was it Thomas Edison in Fairfax County? We got rid of merit enrollment there. Thomas Jefferson, thank you. We got rid of merit enrollment there, and then as a result, it went from number one in the country to number 14. Do I have that right, Jamie?
That sounds similar.
Because we stopped worrying about merit and we worried more about the color of one's skin when we were enrolling people there.
Yeah, we have on screen Richard Cox. Richard Cox, and this story, oh my gosh.
I think that's enough of his face.
It just makes me so angry. So this is a trans registered sex offender charged for exposing himself to women and children. He targeted in Arlington County, and did the same in Fairfax County, where he, on his phone, he had basically at the Fairfax Rec Center, he had the schedule of swim practices for little girls. Obviously, allegedly, it would seem to be the intention that this pervert wanted to make sure that he would go into the changing areas, to women's changing areas, so that he could specifically watch little girls undress. As we know, as moms, we bring our daughters in with us when they change. And so he pretends to be a woman, and he has all of this access. It's disgusting.
It's absolutely
and
disgusting.
County will not prosecute him.
Yes, yeah, the Commonwealth attorney will not.
Well, we need to keep talking about this, but also I want to hit on and maybe have our friend Jen Turner join us. Somebody else who's facing charges, but hopefully will be prosecuted and actually deported, is former superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, the new Maryland man, Ian Roberts. For those who aren't familiar, he is a registered voter in the state of Maryland, but has currently been making $300,000 a year as the superintendent at Des Moines Public Schools in Iowa. I believe the board just last night decided to end his employment and accept his resignation. But one of our best and brightest chapter chairs, Jen Turner, is in that school district, and I think we might be having her join. Is that right, Jamie?
Yeah, I contacted her. She's at her day job, so she has a couple of clients that she's meeting with, so I don't know if she's going to be able to.
That's a mom on the move right there.
I know.
Now that you're talking about what happened in Iowa, I actually have a clip of that board meeting, so let's watch it right here. Get it up and going. I did have it. Press play. Oh, darn it. Hold on a second. I can edit that. There's so many tabs up here. I have to find which one it is. There we go. All right, pressing play.
Ms. Norris. Here. We will begin with a brief board statement. Tonight, we are here to act on the district's contract with Superintendent Dr. Ian Roberts. Friday morning, everything changed for all of us, including Dr. Roberts. The individual who was leading our district with energy and enthusiasm was detained by ICE agents. Since that time, this district, the Iowa Department of Education, the Department of Homeland Security, and others have learned that his citizenship and status and eligibility to work in the United States is not what we were led to believe. New details have led to more questions, really important questions. For all of us, this is not what we anticipated when we welcomed Dr. Ian Roberts into Central Iowa and the Des Moines School District a little more than 2 years ago. It is a sad and troubling end for an individual who gave many people, especially our students, hope. As Des Moines School Board members, we have a responsibility to uphold the law, to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and to lead the district forward in the best way possible. DMPS reviewed Dr. Roberts' I-9, where he stated he was a U.S. citizen and provided 2 forms of ID, a driver's license and a social security card. And Dentons Davis Brown determined the information submitted was consistent with his claim that he was a U.S. citizen. However, in the past 24 hours, the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners revoked Dr. Roberts' license, meaning he is not able to serve as a superintendent in our state. Yesterday afternoon, the Department of Homeland Security informed us that he is not eligible to work in the United States and therefore could not be employed in any fashion at DMPS. There are several reasons leading to just cause for termination. However, the above 2 actions by different government agencies mean that Dr. Roberts can no longer remain employed with our school district. In accordance with due process, we gave Dr. Roberts an opportunity through his attorney to provide any information that would substantiate his claims by answering a set of questions regarding citizenship. He did not provide the board with the information we requested. Instead, he submitted a letter of resignation through his attorney, and the board will vote to accept his resignation.
Can we cut
As
this?
each
She's driving
board
me
member
crazy.
votes,
Like,
please know that the
Yes,
school
we
board
can.
made
this
the
is the most
difficult but
bureaucratic
right
answer.
decision given the
I want
circumstances.
so badly to have like a White House version of this, like the White House social media, Donald Trump, like President Trump. What would he have said? Like, you're fired. He lied. You're a liar. You're a phony. You're a fake. You're an illegal. Like, and they're just like, this was bureaucratic, whitewashed. It's
Yeah, I mean, he claimed a fake PhD from Morgan State. He lied about completing an MBA from MIT, and he's an illegal alien. How did he get this job?
She has like an interesting history too, the school board chair one. She was like chief of staff for Michelle Obama, right?
yes, that's right. Yes.
Yes, she was.
It always connects. I hate the fact that we're told this kind of stuff doesn't happen, and then it just keeps happening and keeps happening, and like you can't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah, I'm reading from Bill Malugian, and he reported that Dr. Roberts fled from ICE agents in May 2024 in his car. Once they ID'd him, he sped away. He, like it says, abandoned a car.
Had $3,000 cash in it, right? A gun.
A loaded gun.
Yeah.
A fixed blade hunting knife. All of this.
And meanwhile, you've got a superintendent who's like, he brightened doorways when he walked in. He was so great for our children. Like, come on, lady. Like, less is more sometimes.
He was ordered to be removed from the United States on May 22nd, 2024, with proceedings held in absentia. On April 24th, a judge in Texas denied a motion to reopen his immigration case. This is just crazy. He had a weapons arrest in 2020. How did he get this job?
It's a $300,000 question, Scarlett.
Really shocking. This is really shocking. How was he able to get a job?
I guess that was one of those jobs that only illegal immigrants are willing to do, right? Superintendent of public schools.
Yeah, and that's a job that pays well. pays very well. So I would think that there might be some other people that would like that job.
Yeah, but
Well-
are we relying on the school board to hire a proper replacement? My God.
Right. Like, we're going to entrust these people to do it again.
But good news is we do have a chapter in Moms for Liberty chapter in Des Moines and Polk County, Iowa. Jen Turner leads there, and they all, I don't know how many chapters they have, a handful, 9, 10, but they all work really closely. And so if there's anyone that's up to the job of making sure they hire the appropriate kind of superintendent, it would be our Moms for Liberty moms.
Watchdogs of the school board. That's exactly right.
Yeah, amazing chapters in Iowa. I'm really interested to talk to them and get their opinion on this. They're the ones closest to it, and they
I
probably
think
know a
they're
lot
kind of
more
like
than-
all in shock that there's so much public support to keep this man in his position.
There is.
Yeah, like people are like protesting to like keep him in this position.
A bunch of white women, I bet.
Bunch of blue sky subscribers.
They're-
I'm telling you, that place, you have to go on that app. I'm telling you, because
scary.
everything that we fight against, everything that is good and true, the underbelly of it lives on Blue Sky. There are 38 million subscribers. 30% of them are 18 to, I think, 35 years old. So everything that was horrific and terrible that happened to Charlie Kirk and continues to happen in our country, it is celebrated and supported on Blue Sky. The devil lives at Blue Sky.
I mean,
And there's probably not much opposition because no one sane wants to go on that app.
Nope.
So they
It's an
just have
alternate reality.
total alternate reality. Insane. You're courageous to go on there. I guess to go there, screenshot and just see what they're saying. You want to know.
Well, yeah, I want to be informed. Like, I don't want to
Mhm.
live in an echo chamber. Like, I would like to be grounded in reality. And so I think it's important to see what is being spread and shared on the other side of the coin, right? Like, I feel like that's my responsibility to be informed on both sides, right? Is that wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. When I'm just kind of thinking about this situation with this superintendent, Nice, and to be so committed to an ideology, to, your politics, that you're willing to suspend all your common sense and say, you know what, I hate Trump so much, I hate ICE so much that how dare you deport? We don't care that he has all fake degrees and all these charges. He's a great person. He's really nice to me. So let's keep him on. Let's keep him in this position. How dare you deport
Yeah,
him?
because he's a criminal undercover trying to keep his $300,000 a year job. Of course he's going to play it cool.
It's just so weird. It's so weird to know that you live in a country where there are people that have, they're so committed to their politics, because I can tell you that if it were reserved, if this were me and I was in that district, and let's say I loved the superintendent and I thought he was great in classical education, super conservative, and it turns out everything was a lie, I would not say, oh, let's keep him. By golly,
No.
I like him. No, I would be like, he's got to go. He's out.
Out.
He has to deport him now.
Bad is bad, period.
I'm not so committed to a cause that I'm willing to tolerate that kind of thing, especially in a school district, especially with my kids. And it's the same thing with that Richard Cox story, that to be so committed to an ideology that you're willing to let a pervert pedophile roam, the bathrooms of women and girls in your community because, you know what, we have to let this one go because, we've just got to stand with the trans. We've got to. And even if it's an obvious male, a guy that just is using gender ideology to achieve a nefarious end, well, we've got to let him, because we're more committed to our politics and to our ideology than we are to the safety and well-being of women and children. So
We've got about 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left. Besides plugging the town hall in Virginia Friday night, Fairfax, one more time, go to momsforliberty.org, go to events. It's free to attend. Have your questions answered by local representatives and also our potential future governor of Virginia, Winsome. Jamie, am I missing anything else on the Virginia Town Hall? And then I thought maybe you could close with anything you wanted to share or any topic you wanted to touch on.
No, I mean, I think that's it. The town hall in Virginia is being held in Springfield, Virginia. So plenty of time to get there from every Northern Virginia city. I don't know. We could talk about Summit. And
the Moms for Liberty Summit coming up in 2 weeks. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, 2
share all
weeks.
the fun stuff.
Yeah, Orlando, Florida at the Gaylord Palms. So we're closing in. We have a robust run of show of speakers. I think I'm going to surpass 60 speakers between our main stage keynotes, panels, breakout sessions. We just announced today we're going to do a premiere showing of 15 Days produced by Natalia from Restore Childhood, kind of a story of full circle of, the 15 days to closing down schools during COVID. So that's super exciting. It's going to be the first time it's been shown in person. I think you can go to their X account and download it to watch it. But if you're going to be in Orlando, we'd love to have you join us for that. They're also offering student tickets now for Saturday. So that's super exciting. If you're a college student in the Orlando area, we hope you come out and join us.
And I'm going to mention that everything that Jamie has discussed is right at the top of our feed on X. So if you go to at Moms for Liberty, that's our X handle, all of that information, registering, speaker announcements. We've just put up the post about the movie premiere. All of that is right there at the top, and also about the Virginia Town Hall. So if you're in the area, you should come. It's going to be pretty awesome, and I'm going to be there too, and so is Jamie. So
we will be there. There's no shortage of hot topics to cover in Fairfax.
It'll be a full-on hot topic night in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Scroll Nick Minot's X page with all of these breaking stories on.
He is on fire. Love his work.
I certainly appreciate it.
I wish his work didn't have to exist. How about that?
Right,
but I still appreciate it.
Yeah, it's 100%. So a lot of great things coming up. I know we're one of the newer things that's happening at Summit this year. We're excited to host a handful of influencers and content creators that really, I think they show up a lot of times and take comments and try to talk to protesters. And so we're super excited to have them join Moms for Liberty to talk to our chapter chairs and our members and get their viewpoints and opinions on some of the things that they, connect on, and not necessarily the divisive combativeness that we're always seeing elsewhere.
Yeah, we're gonna post more information about these influencers and some of the different things that we're going to be doing at Summit today.
Yeah,
to do the post after this.
Today.
So follow along.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No?
Yeah, I can't. Rosalind, it looks like things are getting busier in the background as preparing.
I'm gonna have to go claim my spot in the aisles.
This is going to be a big conference. Everyone's going to show up to this one because the government shut down. So
yep,
this will be a big one. It would be so cool if Trump came in.
Well, I'll keep you posted. Or stream it live.
I will. I'm going to try and stream it.
You can watch it too.
Yeah.
If you have suggestions for questions, I'm going to go figure out what I'm going to ask if I get called on.
I'm going to stream it on the X account. So I'll stream it on my account and Moms for Liberty, the press conference. So.
All right, ladies.
Watch it. All right. I think that's it. I think that's a wrap for the Moms on the Right with Scarlett Johnson and Jamie Hinkle and Rosalind Hanson. And we'll be back next week to talk more about these things. And I don't know. Stay tuned. Follow us. Follow our accounts. I'll put all that information in after the fact. So have a great day. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your kids.
Stay right, America.
Peace.
Good afternoon, everyone. Packed house here today, and I have a very special guest with us, the Vice President of the United States. He'll deliver some remarks and take some questions. First, I just want to share remarks of my own. Democrats in Congress have officially shut down the United States government. House Republicans passed a nonpartisan, clean piece of legislation to extend current government funding until November 21st. But nearly every single Democrat senator voted against this bill. To be clear, this was the exact same bill that Democrats approved 6 short months ago in March, just adjusted for inflation. This is the same kind of clean funding bill that Democrats passed 13 separate times when they held the majority during Joe Biden's administration. So the American people woke up this morning and asked the obvious question: why is the government shut down right now? The answer is pure partisan politics being played by the Democrat Party. The Democrats shut down the government because President Trump and the Republicans will not force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegal aliens. America is $37 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to provide taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals who broke the law to enter our country. To put this all into perspective, the Democrats refused to keep the government open over health care to illegal aliens and now have jeopardized critical health care programs for American citizens instead. The Women, Infants, and Children program, community health center funding, Medicare treatment options, and other health programs are now all at risk because of the Democrats rejecting the clean CR. The most vulnerable in our country are being punished because the Democrats want to prioritize illegals over American citizens. And if Democrats actually cared about healthcare, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump just yesterday in the Oval Office. He took a bold and massively popular action to improve our healthcare system. He announced the first agreement with a major pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, to lower drug costs for Americans. This is a historical achievement long sought by past Democrat presidents that only President Trump was able to get done. Also yesterday, while the Democrats were whining about health care for illegal aliens, President Trump signed a powerful executive order to supercharge American AI innovation and unlock cures for pediatric cancer patients in the United States. While President Trump took action to lower drug prices and improve the lives and the care of American children with cancer, again, Democrats are fighting to give healthcare benefits to illegal aliens. The Trump administration is fully committed to lowering healthcare costs and advancing policies that will save American lives. But right now, we need to keep the government open and funded. And individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans. The labor union leader, the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, sent a very blunt message to Democrats over their destructive antics. He said American workers are not bargaining chips. Senators need to stop screwing around and pass the House-passed clean short-term funding bill. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest business organization, called to immediately pass the Republican clean CR, saying, quote, shutdowns are harmful to the economy, the American people, and our national security. And even Democrat Senators Cortez Masto and Fetterman acknowledged that their party is betraying the American people with this costly and chaotic Democrat shutdown. Enough is enough. Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened, and this is proven in a New York Times poll showing that 2 in 3 Americans say the government should not be shut down by the Democrats, even if their absurd demands are not met. The president and Republicans are working very hard to reopen the federal government. The vice president here has been crucial in this effort. We encourage all Americans across the country, call your Democrat senators and encourage them to reopen the government. That's what President Trump and the vice president want to do. And with that, I will turn it over to our great vice president, J.D. Vance.
Great. Well, thank you, Karoline, and good afternoon to everybody, and good afternoon to everybody who's watching at home. It's a tough act to follow, but let me just say a few things, then I'll take a few questions. Number one, Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering healthcare costs, and yet when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen. What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to healthcare funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition. Let me say two other quick things, and then again, I'll take some questions. Number one, we all understand that Democrats and Republicans have policy disagreements. The Democrats want to do things. Look, when Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were in here a couple of days ago, they made some suggestions that the president was more than happy to say, yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the healthcare crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the healthcare crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say that we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want, which, as Karoline says, includes giving billions of dollars of taxpayer funding for healthcare for illegal migrants. That's ridiculous. You don't have policy disagreements that serve as the basis for a government shutdown. Let's have the conversation about how to fix American healthcare, about how to make healthcare more accessible. As the president showed, he's more than willing to act on behalf of the American people for this very reason. What you don't do is say, unless you do exactly what we want to do as congressional Democrats, we're taking a hostage. And the hostage, it turns out, is critical, essential services that the American people need. Karoline talked about some of it. Let me talk about some more. Our troops are not getting paid starting today because of the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democratic Party. We have people who require food assistance, low-income Americans who require food assistance, who will not get it unless we reopen the government, thanks to Chuck Schumer and his wing of the Democratic Party. We have flood insurance as we start hurricane season in the southeastern part of our country. That flood insurance is going to disappear because of Chuck Schumer and the far left of the Democratic Party. We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them. But let's reopen the government before we have our negotiation about health care policy. That's what the American people demand, and that's certainly what the President of the United States wants. Let me make one final point. I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as Karoline said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? And there are a lot of different spins that we can put on it, a lot of different answers that we could give, all of them true. One answer I already gave is that they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off healthcare benefits for illegal aliens. That's one of the things that they asked for. But the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge. So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix healthcare policy for the American people. Questions?
Mr. Vice President.
That's a lot. Matt Boyle.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, there's two key Democrat lies I would like to get your take on and see if you can address. The first is that you're seeing a number of top Democrat leaders, from Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer to Hakeem Jeffries, claim that it is a Republican shutdown caused by Trump. The second is that they're out there now claiming that they don't want to give health care to illegal aliens. Can you address both of those lies from the Democrat Party?
Yeah, so on the point that it's a Republican shutdown, look, it's obviously a Democratic shutdown. Just look at the vote totals in the House, look at the vote totals in the Senate, and look at the President of the United States' own action and conduct throughout this crisis. Nearly every single House Republican voted to open the government, Matt. Nearly every single Senate Republican voted to open the government last night. And even to their credit, a few moderate Democrats voted to open the government. That's not a Republican shutdown when nearly every single Senate Democrat votes to shut it down and every Republican voted to open it up. It's just obviously not true. Now, you can disagree about a number of things, but you can't disagree about the obvious fact that Republicans voted to open the government. The president stands ready to sign that opening of the government. We just need a few more Democrats to join us in that effort to open the government. Your final question about illegal alien benefits. Look, the text is very clear. And I even saw, I think it was George Stephanopoulos in an interview with Mike Johnson, did a fact check that was totally rooted in baseless claims. It was basically Democrat propaganda. If you look at the legislative text that they gave us, they tried to turn on two separate provisions that would give healthcare benefits to illegal aliens. Number one, if you're an American citizen, you've been to a hospital in the last few years, you probably noticed that wait times are especially large. And very often somebody who's there in the emergency room waiting is an illegal alien, very often a person who can't even speak English. Why do those people get healthcare benefits at hospitals paid for by American citizens? The answer is a decision made by the Biden administration that the Trump administration, working with congressional Republicans, undid. We turned off that money spigot to healthcare funding for illegal aliens. The Democrats, in their legislative text, want to turn it back on. That's one thing. The second thing, Matt, is we all know that there are various ways in which the Biden administration waved away illegal immigration status. They gave parolees, they gave asylum claims to people who weren't really claiming asylum. And when they waved the magic wand of amnesty, giving millions of people legal status, even though they were in the country illegally, they also gave those people access to health care benefits. So what the Democrats are engaging in is a sleight of hand. They're saying, no. Those weren't illegal aliens who were getting health care benefits, even though everybody, knows they were in the country illegally. It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. It's a lie that is obviously untrue if you just look at the text that they gave us. And all you have to do is understand that this is about who benefits. We think the American people's government ought to benefit American citizens. The Democrats are willing to shut it down to benefit illegal aliens. The contrast couldn't be more clear. Peter.
Thank you, Vice President Vance. The big holdup is, of course, that you guys say illegal immigrants are getting taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats say you're lying. That makes it feel like it could be a really long shutdown. Is this going to be a long shutdown?
I don't know. I can't predict what congressional Democrats are going to do, Peter, but I actually don't think it's going to be that long of a shutdown. This is a pure guess from the Vice President of the United States, because I think you already saw some evidence that moderate Democrats are cracking a little bit. They understand the fundamental illogic of this. Look, for years, every single one of us, we can remember Barack Obama on the White House lawn. We can remember Chuck Schumer. We can remember, Nancy Pelosi. For years, in Chuck Schumer's case, for literally decades, we've heard them say, you don't shut the government down over policy disagreement. Okay, Republicans think this thing about healthcare, that thing about healthcare. Democrats think this thing about immigration. Republicans disagree. Whatever those disagreements are, you don't shut down the government over it. For the first time since the Democrats have been in politics, they're now saying that unless we get every policy item that we demand, we're going to shut down the people's government. They're trying to take a hostage, and we're not going to let them.
And the administration announced today that $18 billion bound for New York transportation projects is going to be frozen so it can't go to DEI programs there. But the timing of this, does announcing that today mean that you guys are going to squeeze Chuck Schumer's home state until he blinks?
Look, I haven't talked to Russ about this morning, but look, I'm sure that Russ is heartbroken about the fact that he's unable to give certain things to certain constituencies. We want to do everything that we can to help the American people. But when the Democrats shut down the government, we have to actually do a little triage to make sure the most critical and most essential services are provided. The government does a lot of things. Of course, Republicans think that the federal government probably does too much, but there are a lot of critical things the federal government does that absolutely all of us would agree need to do. Our troops need to get paid. Our air traffic controllers need to make sure that people are flying safely and on time. We need low-income people to be able to access the food services that are provided by the federal government. There are critical things that need to be saved. We're going to do everything that we can over the coming weeks, if the shutdown lasts that long, to ensure that people get the essential services that they need, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer has shut down the federal government. It's not going to be perfect because we are in a government shutdown. We are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for being here. Yesterday, President Trump said, as a result of the shutdown, we'll be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected. And the Democrats, they are going to be Democrats. Has the administration asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe to be Democrats in these reductions of forces?
We're not targeting federal agencies based on politics. We're targeting the people's government so that as much as possible of the essential services can continue to function. That is the question the president has asked the entire government, is fundamentally, okay, we're in a shutdown. That causes some problems. The troops aren't getting paid. There's nothing that we can do about that while the government is shut down. But there are essential services that we want to make sure as much as possible they still continue to function. That is the principle that's driving us forward during this shutdown. It's going to continue to be the principle that drives us forward. But let's be honest, if this thing drags on for another few days or, God forbid, another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to save money in some places so the essential services don't get turned off in other places. That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration.
So what did
Phil.
you mean by they're going to be Democrats? He said they're going to be Democrats.
You've laid out a lot of the pain and problems that would come with a Democratic shutdown, and yet in the Oval Office yesterday, the president said that a lot of good could come from a shutdown. So square that circle. Which is it, a Democratic-caused crisis or a Republican opportunity for reform?
Well, I think all the president is saying, Phil, is that he wants to make sure the American people's government functions as well as it can, despite the fact that we're in a shutdown. We're going to have to make things work. And that means that we're going to have to triage some certain things. That means certain people are going to have to get laid off. And we're going to try to make sure that the American people suffer as little as possible from the shutdown. That's what the president is saying, is that, yes, this is a bad thing. Obviously, the president is trying to reopen the government, but we're going to make things work as well as we possibly can, given the constraints that we have.
And then on those policy differences for the discussion and the negotiations to come later, during the Biden administration, Democrats twice voted to expand these Affordable Care Act tax credits. But those were supposed to be temporary, and they were slated to expire at the end of the year. As you sort of crack the door open to negotiation at a later date, would the party that ran on defunding Obamacare really negotiate about potentially expanding Obamacare?
Well, Phil, what we've said to the Democrats is that we're willing to have a conversation about how to ensure that Americans continue to have access to health care. And frankly, they should have access to better health care at a lower cost. We inherited a mess of a healthcare system from the Biden administration. It's why the president has worked so hard on the most favored nation status for prescription drugs. It's why we care so much about lowering the cost of prescriptions and why we're doing everything else. We're willing to have that conversation, but I think it's important to bracket the healthcare policy conversation because it's separate from the government shutdown. We think that we can open the government and then have the conversation about what best healthcare policy to fit the needs of the American people. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to accomplish. We've got to reopen the government first. Now, Karoline, I don't know how you do this, how you actually choose people, because I don't know 90% of the names in here. Is it just who's the best dressed? Okay, I really like your shirt. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You are president of the Senate. Can you talk about what you're doing, what the administration is doing to try to get other Senate Democrats to vote to open the government?
Yeah, we're talking to a number of our colleagues, Democratic and Republican in the Senate. I talked to a number of them last night. The president, of course, is talking to them as well. I think there really are two categories of demands that I've seen privately from congressional Democrats. I think on the one hand, those who are negotiating in good faith are saying, look, we just want to make sure that we're able to have a conversation with the administration about some of the critical needs that we see that need to get fixed over the next few months. We recognize it's kind of absurd, and a lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, but just agree to negotiate with us in good faith on these issues. And of course, we're having that conversation with them. Then there's another category, people who say, give us everything we want or we're going to keep the government shut down. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith. And frankly, we don't need them. We've already got 3 more Democrats last night than I thought we would get. And I think it's because they recognize the illogic of the position of taking the entire American economy hostage because they don't get their policy priorities. So 3 moderate Democrats joined 52 Republicans last night. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government. And that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. First 2 questions. Are there plans to meet Democratic leaders again in the coming days, or are you planning on plucking off senators one by one?
So that's the whole question?
No, I got a second question.
Okay, go ahead and ask the second question.
So the president's been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer.
I saw.
Recently. You've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have good faith talks with him?
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that. Now, to your first question, are we negotiating one-on-one? Are we negotiating in groups? Look, I will go to the U.S. Capitol right now and meet with Chuck Schumer or any Senate Democrat if it helps us reopen the government. Most of the conversations, in my experience at least, have been one-off. We're also, of course, relying on some of our Senate Republican colleagues who have good relationships across the aisle. We're going to do whatever we have to do is the answer. And I think it's tough to predict what shape this negotiation is going to take over the next few months. But I feel good about the fact that Democrats already realize privately the fundamental irrationality of their position. I hope that they're going to publicly acknowledge it and reopen the government. The guy in the back, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You responded to a post on X of Chuck Schumer on the House floor back in 1996, railing against illegal immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. You said Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens for breaking the law. Why has Chuck Schumer changed his stance?
That's a good question. Actually, it's a very tough question. Asking me to get in the head of Chuck Schumer is not a place I particularly want to be, but my basic read on it is that the entire Democratic Party, the political leadership, not every Democrat nationwide, but the political leadership of their party has got it into their heads that the only way to be compassionate is to be compassionate to illegal aliens rather than American citizens. If you go back to what Bill Clinton was saying, even Barack Obama in some cases, what he was saying about illegal immigration 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would put them on the MAGA right based purely on their rhetoric around illegal immigration. So I don't know why they've gone so far to the left. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for them politically. But our principle, all I can do is speak for the president that I serve and the country, the administration that I serve right now. We believe that the American people's government exists for the American people. That means the people who have the legal right to be here, and that's why we're fighting to reopen the government. And unfortunately, the Democrats are fighting to shut it down for the benefit of illegal aliens. And I'll take a couple more, and then I'll let Karoline. I'll go back to my day job, so Karoline can go back to hers. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just going back to the sombrero. You said that the president's joking, but Hakeem Jeffries says that these memes were racist. What's your response to that? And just if I may briefly go off topic, Secretary Hegseth yesterday made an edict about no more beardos in the military. Just wondered what.
Sorry, what did he say?
No more beardos.
Beards.
Oh, sorry, it's my accent. Just wondered your response to that.
I didn't see that particular comment. I thought Pete gave a hell of a speech, and a speech that really is just oriented around returning the American military to the very high standards that it has had for virtually its entire history until Joe Biden came along and decided to lower standards. I think it was bad for our military, and it was bad for our troops. When I was a young United States Marine, I did not have a beard. I am now the vice president, so I get to do what I want to do. But I think Pete's trying to re-implement high standards, and that's a very good thing. On the sombrero thing, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that And I honestly don't even know what that means. Like, is he a Mexican American that is offended by having a sombrero meme? I mean, I saw one of the major TV stations put the meme up and then say, this is AI generated. And he had like the curly animated mustache too. It's like, do you really not realize the American people recognize that he did not actually come to the White House wearing a sombrero and a black curly animation mustache? Like, give the country a little bit of credit. We're all trying to do a very important job for the American people. The President of the United States likes to have a little bit of fun when he's doing it, and I think that's okay. I'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President, in every previous shutdown, workers have been furloughed, not laid off. So why does the president want to fire some workers and not just furlough them? Why is this shutdown any different?
Well, first of all, we haven't made any final decisions about what we're going to do with certain workers. What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on. We're going to have to take extraordinary measures to ensure the people's government operates, again, not perfectly, because it's not going to operate perfectly in the midst of a shutdown, but operate as well as it possibly can. And I think that the Democrats, if they're so worried about the effect this is having on the American people, and they should be, what they should do is reopen the government, not complain about how we respond to the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government in the first place. Thank you all. Caroline.
The targets and benefits, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right, guys. Well, let's let the fun continue. Vice President's a very busy man, and I'm happy to take some more questions. I know there's more news today. Aside from the shutdown, we can focus on the shutdown if you want, but let's go ahead. Kate, why don't you start?
The president talked about doing things that he said were irreversible during the shutdown, cutting vast numbers of people, he said, and cutting programs. Can you specify what exactly he was referring to, what's on the table and what's going to be cut?
Look, I think the vice president just referred to this in some of the answers that he gave regarding the layoffs. There are unfortunate consequences to a government shutdown, and the federal government is not receiving any cash at the moment. And so the Office of Management and Budget has been tasked with looking over the receipts and looking over the budget of the entire federal bureaucracy. And as the vice president said, determining what needs to continue to go out the door and what can we continue to keep running and what unfortunately is going to have to come to an end. So those decisions are being made. And unfortunately, layoffs are very likely, as the vice president just said, going to be a part of that.
And has the White House had any direct response from Hamas from the peace proposal that was laid out? The president said he would give 3 or 4 days, but is there a hard deadline now? Or what are the next steps here?
I will reiterate what the president of the United States said, 3 or 4 days. And I can tell you that there are some very sensitive discussions that are taking place, but I certainly don't want to get ahead of any announcement at this podium. I'm going to let Special Envoy Witkoff and the President of the United States handle that.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. First of all, following up on that, the president said yesterday, I believe, within 3 or 4 days, he wanted to hear an answer from Hamas. Is he still sticking by that timeline?
Yes, as I just confirmed.
And then second question is a comment that's gotten a lot of global attention. Senator Dick Durbin, he was set to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Catholic Church. He's since declined accepting it because there has been some controversy. Pope Leo commented on this, and he said that someone who says I'm against abortion, but I'm in agreement with the inhumane treatment of immigrants in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. You've been very open about your Catholic faith. How do you respond to that?
I would reject there is inhumane treatment of illegal immigrants in the United States under this administration. There was, however, significant inhumane treatment of illegal immigrants in the previous administration as they were being trafficked and raped and beaten, and in many cases killed over our United States southern border. You also look at the inhumane treatment at the hands of some of these illegal immigrants that took place under the previous administration as well. Laken Riley comes to mind, a beautiful American citizen who was killed at the hands of an illegal immigrant. So this administration is trying to enforce our nation's laws in the most humane way possible, and we're upholding the law, and we're doing that on behalf of the people of our country who live here.
Josh. Thanks a lot, Caroline. What is the level of concern that the administration has regarding a protracted government shutdown in terms of its impact on the U.S. economy and also its impact on small businesses as well?
Well, look, this government shutdown is no doubt going to impact everyday Americans, and it is the fault of the Democrats that we are in this position. And I know I relayed some programs that will be impacted. The vice president did as well, but I just want to make sure the American public understand what the Democrats have done to our government and our country. 1.3 million active duty troops will work now without pay. Critical food assistance for low-income women, infants, and children will now lapse. No new mothers or children are allowed to join this critical program because of the Democrats' decision to shut down the government. Telehealth services for seniors and in-home treatment options for Medicare patients will now come to an end. Nearly 50,000 members of the United States Coast Guard are going to have to work unpaid. Over 13,000 air traffic controllers will work without pay, as well as TSA agents, which will very likely create flight disruptions. And pay will now stop for over 150,000 federal law enforcement officers. These are not just numbers and statistics. These are real Americans who have families at home. And I saw some Democrat members today saying they're still going to accept their paychecks because they have 3 kids at home and they have mouths to feed. Well, so do these federal workers who those same Democrats just voted to shut down the government and turn off their pay. And we believe that's very unfair. And it's why the administration wants to see the government reopened.
GDP growth fell by about 0.5 percentage point during the last government shutdown during the president's first term. Are you expecting a similar type of impact on GDP growth related to this potential protracted government shutdown?
Well, look, I think it's dependent upon how long this shutdown continues. So it's dependent on how long it takes Democrats to muster up the coverage, 5 of them, to vote in the best interest of our country, our citizens, and our economy. Eamon.
Thank you, Caroline. Yesterday, your administration took a 5% stake in Lithium Americas and a stake in the mine that they're working on, and you've taken stakes in other companies and revenue streams from other companies. Can you articulate the broader principle here? When does the administration see it as appropriate to demand equity stakes or revenue streams from American companies? And what other companies are you going to be demanding those from?
Well, look, this is a creative solution by the President of the United States to tackle our nation's crippling debt crisis. As I said earlier, we are $37 trillion, trillion with a T, in debt. And not only is the president effectively utilizing tariffs to bring in massive amounts of revenue, and there's billions of dollars coming in every month. I know you know that, even because you cover it on CNBC quite well. So the president is focused on how can the United States government make more money? How can we make our country wealthy and rich again? And cutting some of these unique creative deals with companies around the world and here at home is just one way the president is seeking to do that. And I know the Department of Energy just announced this new deal. It's another great deal for the American people and our government.
And on Lisa Cook,
Sure, go ahead.
Lisa Cook, the Supreme Court said today that she's going to be allowed to stay at the Federal Reserve Board until oral arguments in January. Does the president have any personal reaction to that? This has been something he's been very intent on.
Look, we have respect for the Supreme Court, but they're going to hear the actual case and make a determination on the legal argument in January. And we look forward to that because we maintain that she was fired well within the president's legal authority to do so. She was removed from the board, and we look forward to that case being fully played out at the Supreme Court. Reagan.
Caroline, I have one for you on EJ and Tony and one on the shutdown.
Sure.
CNN reported that Collins and Murkowski declined to meet with EJ and Tony, raising concerns that his nomination was in trouble. I'm wondering what message Collins and Murkowski are sending to the White House by not meeting with one of the president's nominees.
Well, look, EJ Antony remains a great ally of the president and our team. It became clear, unfortunately, that he was not going to have the votes, and so we will be announcing a replacement nominee very soon.
And on the shutdown, I'm just wondering how soon you could see cuts to the federal workplace, and if there's a specific agency that will experience the most cuts or be focused.
Unfortunately, because the Democrats shut down the government, the president has directed his cabinet, and the Office of Management and Budget is working with agencies across the board to identify where cuts can be made. And we believe that layoffs are imminent. They are, unfortunately, a consequence of this government shutdown. Ed.
So you talk about the layoffs being imminent. Is there a percentage then of reduction that the White House is looking for of workforce?
I don't have a specific percentage for you.
What about China, if I could? So China has not made one soybean purchase this year in the United States. I talked to a farmer yesterday who has about 1,000 acres in Iowa and says this is just killing her. Now, the president has been talking to President Xi. Could China not buying agriculture affect a possible meeting with the president? Would he not meet with Xi because China's refused to buy soybeans from the U.S.?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president and make a determination on that from this podium. But what I can tell you is that supporting America's farmers and doing what's best for them is at the top of the president's priority list, and it's at the top of the list for this administration right now. There have been several very high-level meetings on this very topic. We want to help our farmers, and we're exploring the best ways to do that. And I would anticipate there will be more to come on that very soon.
Send a message to the Chinese president.
Look, I just shared that message. The president wants what's best for America's farmers. Sean.
Hey, Karoline.
Hi.
2 things to ask you about.
Sure.
First thing, I want to ask about this video that the president posted the other day. It was an AI deepfake of himself talking about something called med beds. What was he trying to communicate to the public there, and why did he delete it?
I think the president saw the video and posted it and then took it down. And he has the right to do that. It's his social media. He's incredibly transparent, as you all know. You hear from him directly on social media. He likes to share memes. He likes to share videos. He likes to repost things that he sees other people post on social media as well. And I think it's quite refreshing that we have a president who is so open and honest directly himself. Many a times on Truth, you are hearing directly from the President of the United States.
And second thing, how did the White House decide that it is appropriate for Jared Kushner to be working on matters that involve Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, 3 countries that combined have given him more than $2.5 billion for his investment firm?
I think it's frankly despicable that you're trying to suggest that it's inappropriate for Jared Kushner, who is widely respected around the world and has great trust in relationships with these critical partners in these countries, to strike a 20-point comprehensive detailed peace plan that no other administration would ever be able to achieve. And so Jared is donating his energy and his time to our government, to the President of the United States, to secure world peace. And that is a very noble thing. And this is a peace plan that has not just been accepted by Israel, but it has been applauded by Muslim and Arab countries around the world. It has been applauded by European leaders around the world. Virtually everyone in the world is supportive of this plan that Jared Kushner offered his time to help put together alongside our special envoy Witkoff, the vice president, the president of the United States, Secretary Rubio, and the president's entire national security team. We are very proud of that plan, and we hope Hamas will accept it because it will lead to a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East.
Kristen. 2 questions. One, we're talking a lot about these layoffs and hypotheticals, but Speaker Johnson earlier today said that there is a proposal from the White House that House Republicans are expected to hear this afternoon about these mass layoffs. Can you tell us what is in that proposal? What agencies, what programs, what jobs?
What he's referring to is a proposal that our Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, is going to be proposing to the House Republican Conference. He's going to kind of walk them through what this unfortunately is going to look like so they can discuss it with their constituents back home in their respective districts. So I don't want to get ahead of the Office of Management and Budget, but I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that very soon. Look, we have to put a plan in place. It would be irresponsible of us not to take a look at each and every agency and get an understanding of what we're going to have to do moving forward to do the best we can in the midst of this government shutdown.
Thanks, Karoline. Just on that point, though, Russ Vought told House members, according to our notice reporting, that RIFs would happen in 2 days. Already, we know that some have been sitting out from the U.S. Patent Office. So I wonder, one, this administration continues to say that they don't want to lay people off, but obviously there is a plan to lay people off. So what is your message to those people who are getting laid off? And then if the government reopens, will those RIFs reverse? Are they not permanent if the government reopens, specifically if it reopens pretty quickly?
Well, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And it's because the Democrats have put us into this position. If the Democrats did not vote to shut down the government, we would not be standing up here talking about layoffs today. We'd be talking about all the other news stories going on in the world in our country. We'd be talking about all of the great things that this administration is doing to uplift Americans across the country. But unfortunately, the Vice President of the United States and I have to come out here today to talk about a government shutdown that the Democrats put us in this position.
And the second question,
Thanks, Caroline. I'm just trying to clarify the timing of these potential layoffs to federal workers. You said imminent. The vice president seemed to say in a couple of days. It looks like Russ Vought maybe said in 2 days. When would these layoffs begin?
2 days, imminent, very soon. You will expect more announcements right now.
Is it just unclear, or are you waiting?
It's not unclear. All of those things are very synonymous with one another. These rifts are unfortunately going to happen very soon.
It'll definitely
Caroline, we've been talking about the Affordable Care
Act, enhanced premium tax credits, and sort of the politics of it all, right? But this is a very real, tangible impact that American people will feel. The Kaiser Family Foundation says that with the ACA enhanced premium tax credits, without them, premiums will go up 114% on average. 19 million of the 24 million people who rely on the coverage are in states that President Trump won. Is he concerned what will happen to those families if this tax credit expires? And aside from the shutdown, is there a plan to keep those premiums down?
Look, as the vice president just said, we are more than happy to have this conversation. The president and the vice president and this team are more than happy to have that conversation with Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill, but it cannot happen right now. Right now, we need to reopen the United States federal government because people are going without pay. You have thousands of federal workers who have to show up to work and not get paid. And that's an unfortunate situation the Democrats have put us in. Then we can discuss this very important issue of healthcare that the president absolutely wants to fix. As I mentioned yesterday, he took, but those premiums do not expire until the end of the year. It's October 1st right now. And so we have a few months to have that conversation. And it's irresponsible of the Democrat Party to try to convince the American people that that conversation has to happen right now. No, what needs to happen right now is the reopening of the United States federal government. And then this administration will be happy to work with Democrats in good faith to come to a policy determination. But one red line the government has already made clear, this administration has already made clear, this administration is never going to support taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegal aliens. And we think it's despicable that that was one of the first proposals that Democrats put in their funding proposal and their CR. The Republican CR was a clean CR that would keep the government open. Democrats have voted for it 13 times in the past. The Democrats put this poison pill in there, this partisan pill. Why? Because they are beholden to the far left radicals in their party. And you already see 3 moderate Democrats having the courage to say, no, we need to keep the government open, and then we can have these conversations about healthcare. Mary.
Karoline, I just want to circle back to something the vice president said about Ocasio-Cortez. I'm actually surprised it didn't come up sooner. So if Schumer is catering to the demands of Ocasio-Cortez, can you share whether the White House views this as cracks in Schumer's leadership? And would the vice president be open to meeting with someone like her if she is assuming this role in the Democratic Party?
I'll let the vice president speak on that himself. I think that certainly Senator Schumer was not expecting 3 moderates to break with him last night. In fact, last night you heard Senator Schumer say he can't guarantee that he will be able to hold his caucus together. And so again, we encourage Democrats to have the courage to do the right thing, do what you have done 13 times previously, and vote for this clean continuing resolution to keep the government funded. As for what the Trump administration and President Trump is going to do, we'll continue to be very public that we want the government to be open. And as the vice president said, we'll continue to work in good faith with anyone on Capitol Hill who wants to do right by the American people. Thank you all so much. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Well, that was sure interesting. And what a press conference. Obviously, what is top of mind right now is the government shutdown. As Karoline Leavitt, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, and Vice President J.D. Vance made clear, this is terrible and unnecessary. Only 5 Democrat senators, 5 who already originally voted for the budget, need to step up and prioritize the American people first. I mean, you heard what Karoline said. And I know for a fact that there are going to be members of our military that are going to suffer. They're going to work without pay. A lot of the members of the armed forces currently, they are very young. They're very young. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They have young families. My daughter and my son-in-law are among those families. there are service members that are overseas ready to come home, and they may not be able to because there's no government funding to purchase their flights, to pay for their tickets. I mean, this is just a halt. Like I know in many ways we can say like there's some government jobs we won't miss you, right? We could joke about that. But usually in a situation like this, essential workers, the military, usually some agreement happens where we continue to fund for critical services. We continue to pay our military members. We continue to provide for healthcare. We don't let those that are most vulnerable or our heroes, we don't let them down. But the Democrats want to make a point, and they want to apply pain. And so in this game of chicken, I guess they're wondering, who's going to blink first. It's really unfair. A clean CR bill was available. All that was requested is more time to negotiate, and instead it's political grandstanding. It's really unfortunate. It's really an unfortunate thing to happen, and we can only hope for the sake of our veterans, our military, for those who require essential services, for our Coast Guard who has to work without pay, for TSA workers, for all of the people that work for the government and they actually do an essential job that we depend on and that their families, derive an income from. We can only hope that this nonsense comes to an end quickly so that we can get to important issues. I think that providing medical care for people who should not be here, that they are here illegally, is crazy. There are too many Americans who don't have the health care that they need or require. There are too many people that have insanely high insurance premiums, and it's very difficult to provide health care for their families. So there's too many Americans working 2 jobs or sacrificing a lot to provide healthcare for their families. Giving free healthcare to people who should not be here because they came here illegally. The schemes of the Democrats, it's just unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Anyway, that's just my thoughts, and can only hope for a resolution of some sort very soon. And Rosalind Hanson was there. I'll be excited to hear from her. Maybe we can get her to come on later and discuss very quickly. I love this picture of Rosalind and I in front of the White House. Again, we both have press passes. I am Moms for Liberty new media correspondent for the White House, and I also am the director of social media for Moms for Liberty. And Rosalind is also a correspondent with the New Media Pass. And we're going to be in DC together Friday. She is there right now. I'm trying to see if she's available to come on to speak, but she may not be. She lives in the area, and she has her kids to attend to, so she might be hurrying up, getting back home after quite an eventful day. And here again is the graphic, a reminder of the veteran services that are now at risk. Nursing home care for veterans with service-connected disabilities, grant-funded suicide prevention program, transportation services to medical services for veterans and their families, financial assistance for low-income veteran families, veteran mental health services, outreach programs for veterans experiencing homelessness, and many more services are at risk with a government shutdown. Well, great news, Rosalind. You were able to check back in and kind of tie this whole up neatly. So what was your experience? I mean, JD Vance was there, the vice president. That's pretty cool. So what was your experience? You were in that room.
It was a full house, as it always is. The press are hungry to hear from this administration. It's really refreshing, I think, to have a vice president who is able to be jovial with the press and acknowledge that we're in a really hard place right now with this government shutdown. And also we have to be willing to work together to come to a solution as quickly as possible. Most of the questions were naturally and understandably centered around the shutdown and the impacts it's having on the American people. There were some conversations about about social media and Trump in general and his humor. And I think that that's, Trump derangement syndrome, if you will. It's like, we can't take a joke anymore. And so it was a great opportunity. I wish I had been called on so that we could have focused on some additional current affairs outside of the government shutdown. I think Karoline would have appreciated that too a little bit. I can't speak for her, obviously, but there is news outside of the government shutdown that is still impacting everyday Americans.
I know when this was happening, I kind of selfishly was like, oh my God, this is all we're going to hear about now. It's going to be 24/7 government shutdown. But what is the question you would have asked?
So I would have asked, and I would have started off by saying, Northern Virginia public schools have been the epicenter for failed education and putting a spotlight on it, from celebrating boys in girls' bathrooms to having supposed teachers who are helping children have abortions behind their parents' backs, and a complete disrespect for the Department of Education. So in breaking news this week, Winsome Sears is within the margin of error in the gubernatorial race there in Virginia. So my question is, Karoline, I would have asked, is how closely is the White House monitoring this race and these issues in Virginia?
That's a really good question. That's one that I would have liked to hear answered. I would imagine they're monitoring it closely, but
I would hope so. And especially now that there is this momentum behind Winsome, maybe all of those furloughed Republican government workers can go out there and do some door knocking in Northern Virginia. Like, just a thought. Come to the Moms for Liberty Town Hall on Friday night, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they could if they're not working now. And did she give any details about, because I was kind of going in and out doing some work, but any details about plan? Is the president meeting with leaders today to discuss some sort of, I know that there was an option that the Democrats could have signed on to where all essential services, all government would be funded until November to avoid a shutdown, just to give them a month to debate and come to some agreements and make some deals. But the Democrats didn't want that. And they wanted this sort of pain to be felt by the American people.
Is that the American people are being held hostage with this government shutdown, right? Like, it's literally like taking a hostage. It was their way or no way. And so they've already agreed to extend the government and pass the budget 13 times just like this, but this time was different. And so, yes, there are going to be continued conversations. The administration said that they are welcome and happy to continue those conversations. Vice President Vance said he would go to Capitol get the government reopened and then move forward with things like talking about how to fix broken healthcare in America.
Yeah, it seems clear to me that President Trump, Vice President Vance, Speaker, like the Republican leadership has been trying very hard to come to a deal, at the very least a deal to just continue to keep funding the government as they work on the final budget. And that is something, like you said, they have been doing. They've done it 13 times before. And the resolution, the budget had already previously been voted on, yes, by Schumer. And now he's backtracking because he has been maligned and attacked by the very far left of the party, Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, did you hear me?
I did. I heard you. I think it was pausing, and so I
Okay.
just held still. One of the questions that was asked, and I think it's interesting to pull on that thread, not now because I have to get home, mom duties and all of that. But the thread I would pull on is Chuck Schumer caving to pressure from
Ocasio-Cortez.
By her. And so what kind of leadership does that, what kind of leadership skills does that signal when we are potentially abdicating our leadership roles because we feel pressured that we might actually lose our role in government? I don't know.
Well, thanks, Rosalind, for coming on. I know you are an hour ahead of me, and it's getting to be time to pick up your kid from school and put on your mom hat. So I will let you go, and we're going to wrap up this now. It'll be a 2-hour live stream, but we're going to air it tonight. So people have a lot of time to come in and listen, but I thanks for coming back on, and I'll see you.
For organizing it.
All right. Drive
See you later,
safe.
girlfriend.
Bye. See you Friday. Bye. All right. Well, that ends it. We are getting to the 2-hour mark, so it's a good time to go. This will be aired. I'm recording this afternoon. But when this airs tonight, you'll understand, like, hey, the sun's out. But I'm not going to put this on till 8 p.m. Central Time, and so that will be 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So maybe there's some news by then. I think that right now we're at a bit of a stalemate, and it would be, you guys know you're going to turn to the news. It's going to be government shutdown, government shutdown, government shutdown. Did not have to happen. This is not the fault of the Trump administration or the House Republicans, or this is wholly because 5 Senate Democrats will not cross the aisle and vote for the continuing resolution, a clean CR bill. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, and I will talk to you again real soon.